Okay, welcome to Taipei. My name is Sam. I'll be very happy to see you friends and some of my very good friends from London. This is probably maybe the 5th or 6th year. I'll be very happy to present to you on the topic of today. I know the time is very, very short, so the most things I like to introduce the overall the Taiwanese ICT industry. I know all of you come to Taipei for the purpose of Computex, as well as you are going to meet some of the local partners here to see the IT solutions. So myself, I work in III. It's one of the leading research institute in Taiwan, according to our software service industry. And I was working in the market research division. For the past 5 years, actually, I work with EBRD quite closely, from Dr. Chung and also Kaori. I've been worked to EBRD several times. So this morning I spent around 1 hour to show you so first this is our warm welcome. Welcome to Taiwan. And this is the Computex opening today. And I show some of the old photos. This is actually in III. We also have this very similar delegation presentation. This is last year in TAITRA. And last year and the year before last year, I went to London to meet with Matthew, some of EBRD colleagues, and also with Dr. Chong, we went to Zhanghua, one of the very leading intelligent hospital systems. Actually, we bring some delegation to go to the details. So they are very, very impressed about all the smart solutions here in Taiwan. This is about myself. I've been working for market research for more than 25 years, and currently I help the local government to promote the ICT application to all the EBRD countries. Actually, this morning on my presentation, there are 2 parts of the presentation. First part actually from the government support research institute point of view. I like to share some of the result for Taiwan ICT industry. I think most of you are experts from ICT industry, so probably you heard about something from Taiwan. But I like to show some of the total statistics numbers, as well as the most important part I like to share is how government play its role to help to promote the ICT industry, not only to sell the product overseas, but the most important thing is we help to achieve the citizens' benefit, citizens' welfare to have a better life. So there are several points of view I'd like to introduce to you. And second part of my presentation, actually I show that's I have been doing for the past maybe 5 years. In terms of solutions, system integration solution, there are a lot of so-called smart technology solutions. I will give you some examples. I've been working with EBRD as well as some other country governments. Actually, last week I was in Thailand, Bangkok. Actually, we have some kind of a seminar, workshop together with Thailand government. They are doing very similar things, like they want to introduce some kind of intelligence system to Bangkok, mainly on the transportation control system, etc. And I also like to share the experience that on Taiwan side, we've been working for so many years from government side as well as from the private sector. As you may know that Dr. Chong used to work in the industry side. In the MyTech Group, is one of the leading private software company here in Taiwan. But he spent a lot of time helping government to do all the system solution promotion job for the many years. So for those of you first time to come to Taiwan, just very brief idea to let you understand, Taiwan is located a very strategic location in the East Asia area. We have not very big, actually it's a very small island, but we do have a very big population, 23 million. It's quite big. And with normally a very small household, average less than 4 persons in the family, with very good GDP numbers. But I like to share this number is generally called ICT index to show a country that represent its capability in terms of IT application or in general daily lives. How do our citizens use those ICT equipment as well as service? These are done by my division, because we help government to make all kinds of survey, all kinds of statistic data, so that we can calculate those numbers to disclose to our industry as well as to our government. The major point I'd like to point out here is that we still, even now today, Taiwan is the major procurement center for almost global company, big company to buy ICT product. The division I work is a market intelligence center. But I always like to make this joke. MIC also stands for Made in China. So all the products you're going to see, probably they are made in China, but they are operated by Taiwanese company. So we are made by Taiwan. Okay, so since you are, most of you are ICT experts, so you quite understand that in Taiwan, we are not just a few companies that take the leading position globally, but actually it's a very big, very complex ecosystem in many, from semiconductor to component to manufacturing, even for some of the branding and the IPC. Probably you will see a lot of industrial PC company here in Taiwan. Okay, from the overall point of view that in terms of the production value, so just give you a very brief idea that every 100 laptop PC made is 83 is made by Taiwanese company. Even though they are Dell or they are HP or Lenovo, basically they are all made by Taiwanese company, regardless the location or etc. Just a few years ago, probably this year you will see some of the Sony notebook. Vaio come back again. Vaio is a very few model that is not made by Taiwanese company. But recent years, the high level model is still made by Taiwanese company. So nevertheless, to say like motherboard, server, actually we still keep a very high percentage in terms of the production value. On the right-hand side, these are all the telecommunication equipments. So this is very important. One of the major contribution that Taiwanese company to the ICT industry is when those products, we did not invent this product. It's all done by US or European company. But what our contribution is, we make these things very small, very cheap, and very fast to go to the market. So just think about maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the Wi-Fi is very difficult. Only you can use Wi-Fi in airport, maybe Starbucks coffee. But now probably in Taipei, you can go use Wi-Fi everywhere, okay? So within our division, actually we do a lot of market research for all kinds of ICT product, hardware product. So we make this numbers and we calculate this number and disclose to our industry. So for most of you understand, Taiwan is a very industry is a small and medium SMEs. So we have a lot of small companies and dealing business in IT industry. So we need a lot of market information, market intelligence for our small company. So this is one thing I like to point out, that the market information, particularly for the high-tech industry, is very important for small company. Of course, big company, they are rich enough to buy a lot of market reports. But for small company, major small business, they need all kinds of this information. So I won't go too detailed, just let you get an idea that what kind of information that we are going to provide to our government as well as our private sector. So this is the ICT in terms of the contribution to our GDP, the economic growth of Taiwan. And we make all kinds of statistics number, and we make forecasts for our industry. And also telecommunication communication industry, as well as I like to point out 2 points. This is even for the software service industry, is more domestic. And you can see the majority part of the green color is so-called a system integration service. It's the mainly business function for domestic companies. So most of the company you are going to meet, they are very familiar. They are experts in terms of system solution, which in other words, they are very capable to pick up good hardware solutions, components, and put into their application domain expertise into very good system integration solutions. I'm sorry. The second one is the software market. As you can see, there are some kind of packaging software. It's like gaming or a lot of utility tools. But even in Taiwan, almost half or more than 50%, they are enterprise solutions. What enterprise solution means is you are solving the problem within medical industry, manufacturing industry, even for like transportation, healthcare. So you are not only expert in IT software skill, but you are expert for those domain knowledges. Okay, so this is just give you an idea that Taiwan, even though we have a lot of very good software product company, but we have more software enterprise solution company here in Taiwan. So just give you an idea. Every delegation come to Taiwan, I'll give you them one advice. Please do take time to look at all the convenience stores in Taiwan. Probably you may not know that how many convenience stores here in Taiwan? 10,000. So within that population, within that very crowded area, we have 10,000 convenience stores. And imagine how many things you can do within a convenience store. You are not just buying those food, grocery only. You can do a lot of things. You can do pick up your e-commerce parcel. You can collect a lot of bakery, all kind of things. And more important, guess what? You can pay tax. You can update your driver license. Okay, you can do a lot of things that through, actually it's a lot of government function. So once you have more than 10,000 convenience stores, all the backup, all the information system, all the backup, all the government information. So make the citizen is very convenient using by all kinds of kiosks. You can buy concert ticket, you can buy books, all kinds of things. You can pay your bill, highway toll. Okay, it's very, very convenient. So many government as well as private company, they put their application on the daily service. So please do take time when you are in Taipei, go to different, actually there are not too many, 7-Eleven, Family Mart, okay, all kinds of convenience stores you can go. You will see, just observe those citizens, what did they do when they go into this convenience store. Okay, let's talk about the economic growth development, that how organizations like III, like TAITRA, actually we are not government organization. We are a quasi-government organization, but we help, our main purpose is to help government formulate those kind of IT industry policy, as well as promote those service to general industry as well as for the government sectors. So without any surprise, actually Taiwan is very good in terms of many information society ranking, which means we are not only very good at making IT products. Actually, we are relatively good in terms of society level. We are using those IT service to make our citizens more competitiveness as well as more healthy for their daily lives. Just give you a brief idea that how Taiwan has been for the past 56 years. We are quite small, quite weak back to 50 years ago, from a very rural agricultural industry all the way moved to recent years from so-called high-tech industry, as well as the knowledge-intensive industry. But currently, organizations like us, we help government do a lot of survey and policy formulation according to what? So-called the digital economy. So one of major thing is probably everybody understand the share economy, like Uber, like Airbnb. That create a very big impact among different government agencies, regulations, laws, and a lot of business among different industries. Actually, this is very important. I think it impact on almost every country in the world. Just example in Taipei City. Do you know how many taxis here in Taipei? Probably 60,000 taxis, yellow cab. So it's so convenient. So you can imagine when Taipei City has the Uber, that will raise a very serious conflict between taxi driver and the Uber drivers because taxis, so many taxis. But think about if you go to rural area, that taxi is not that convenient. So Uber service become very useful, very convenient to the citizens, okay? But the problem is, do we have an up-to-date legal system to cope with that kind of development? So this is very important. We also do this kind of research for the government. Okay, so breakthrough innovation is very important for the so-called industry transformation. So now currently the most popular term for the government is digital transformation, digital adoption and digital transformation for almost all kinds of industry. Okay, so actually for the past 30 years, organizations like IIIE or TAITRA, actually we help formulate or execute a lot of government project to build up some kind of digital infrastructure project and some kind of facility like a Nangang Software Park, all kind of things you will see here in Taiwan. Even for the highway, high-speed rail. So it can, you go to the certain part of Taiwan, maybe less than 2 hours. That will be very, very convenient for Taiwanese business people to do business in the certain part of Taiwan. And I like to share a little bit experience here, what I've been doing for the past 30 years. Everybody thinks Taiwan is very good in ICT manufacturing. But we do think the successful story is not only manufacturing. Actually, in the government sector, actually we do 4 things, 4 very important elements. One is network. It's not the telecommunication network, it's a personal network. It's a human network. So we have a lot of students study overseas. Then when we go back to Taiwan, we still have a very good relationship with US company like IBM, Intel, Cisco. So we will be able to have a very close relationship between R&D technology or some kind of business promotion. And second one, the government support a lot of research project. The purpose is not to develop new up-to-date technology, but also to encourage a lot of so-called innovation of how to use those ICT technology in many sectors in different industry. And since Taiwan is such a small island, so we understand that the global international trade is one of our critical survival to our country. So organization like TAITRA is one of the leading organizations here in Taiwan to help all kinds of business, mainly SMEs, to promote, to do the international business, all kinds of things. And even in the IT sector, we know that small company to do international trade is very difficult. So we help to build some kind of infrastructure even for 2-man company, they can do international trade very, very easy by establishing a lot of IT infrastructure So by this kind of the circulation, the cycle, so we will create more and more human resources, skill level, information exchange become stronger and stronger. So I think this is one of the very good example for most of the developing countries if they want to promote their local domestic industry, not necessarily IT related industry. This is a very good way to promote your industry. Okay, since I conclude the first part of my presentation into we do need some kind of government or public sector or some kind of organization like EBRD. They will help to organize some kind of strategic plan in IT sector or in energy, green energy related sector. And recently we work with EBRD on the topic of smart city. Smart city is a very big concept, including many technology as well as a social economic factor within that area. So we help to government build some kind of ICT infrastructure project. For example, 30 years ago, even in Taiwan government, we don't have a leading healthcare system, residential information system, traffic control system. So organizations like III or Ict, we build up those basic information system for the country, for the government. Then the private business, they will be able to learn from this kind of project. Then year by year, they will be able to enhance their capability so that they will be able to do other business within the local company, local industry. Then they will be able to have a chance to go overseas business. And then we initiate some kind of very important ICT project. Back to 20 years ago, for example, we try to encourage more than 3 million people go to internet. That was 20 years ago. That's a big project because we don't have too many computers here at home, and the network is not that convenient. At that time, government initiated some kind of very leading, foreseeing project to help the general people be able to understand the network, the benefit of those kind of network services. And of course, MIC, what I've been doing is, I think this is very important, not only for the IT industry. I think most of the country you represent, they are small SME companies. And small SME companies, they are very flexible, they are very innovative, but their problem is the scale of economy too small. You don't have enough people, enough capital to do that. So at least for the first 2 early stage of the SME development, you need a lot of support from government. Not only the subsidy of some kind of development project, but more important, I think, is the market intelligence. You know where to find good partner to deal with together. You know the potential area on that particular market, how big is the market potential, and you will be able to do that within. For example, 2 years ago, I've been to Turkey. So even though I know some project from Turkey supported by EBRD, and Turkey, I know they have more than 76 million population. It's a big country, but they have a very big impact on the region, nearby area like Middle East, Central Asia, even for the Eastern Europe. So Turkey company will be a very good, ideally partner for develop those applications in that region. So we didn't know that until we go there, or we find some kind of market information. So this can save a lot of time, save a lot of energy for, particularly for SME companies. Okay, so actually we provide a lot of R&D incentive program. Actually, for software industry here in Taiwan, I've been support a government project. I deal with more than 500 software companies here in Taiwan. So that's why I have been able to have a chance to start up my own business, venture capital. I invest a lot of software company, because in software, you need to have some kind of packaging, commercialized capability. But for small software company, that's a big money. So in order to get that kind of improvement, achievement, so government provides some kind of commercialization support to local software company. So back to the idea about system integration, I think that will be very important, because you are not just selling technology itself. Actually, you are using a lot of domain knowledge integrate together to solve the problem, even private or public sector. So this is also very, very important. And last one, the PPP model, I think in many EBRD projects, we are using this kind of model, which means government and private sector all invest different kind of funding, be able to support, for example, most of the area we are using is like smart city, smart transportation, healthcare, or kind of green energy, solar plan all kind of project. This will be a very ideal project for both private sector as well as the government sector to support this kind of solution. Okay, so the one I just mentioned to you is from the point of view from the public sector, including government, including research institute, including like organization like EBRD. We have a budget, we have some kind of mission to help to promote those kind of applications to different countries. And the second part I like to introduce, for example, that means when you go to Computex, you go to the exhibition hall, you will see a lot of product or some kinds of component modules. But the problem is, where do you find a system integrator to implement those product components into solutions, into useful solutions? So I'll give you some example that we have been doing for at least for the past 6 or 5 years here in Taiwan. One successful story here is ITS, Intelligent Transportation Service. The idea is very clear, very simple, very easy to understand. Everybody know Lego, right? You have small children, you used to play Lego. So it sounds like most of the Taiwan IT company, we are building Lego parts, components, even for the modules. But on the other hand, you know, the Lego you need to put into as a final, like a city, theme park, etc. Or at least in the middle, you will be able to build up some kind of module, a house with a yard, a bus station, all kind of things. So actually, from the government policy point of view, Taiwan government, actually we have a very strong industry, you all know. But we like to move on this direction. So that's why we need a lot of system level company, system solutions on specific area. For example, transportation, education, healthcare, energy, etc. Then on the right hand side, we need bigger country, or we need foreign partners like all of you. You familiar with your industry. You know your industry domain knowledge. You know your pain. You know your problem. But we know only ICT technology parts, components. So there's a very big potential space for all of us can work together. We are using this kind of IT product modules plus those kind of solution domain experience all together. We are not just solving your domestic problem, but in the long run, there's a very good opportunity we can do business together in the future. So this is a very important idea. So on the scale, from small and medium scale field trial. So government, actually we are not providing product development support. Actually we are supporting field trial. The government assigns some area. Probably you will see many on the street. I'll give you some example. So that the private company will be able to do their experimental project within that area. Because some of the project cannot be done in lab, cannot be in research lab. It should be a real life solutions. So it could be on the street, in a hospital, in a school. So actually government, we have this kind of incubation project to support this kind of, then we're going to become large scale field trial. For example, autonomous driving cars, all kind of green energy, grid computing, big project, so it should become large scale. I know some of you represent big company, you will be able to handle big project. But in Taiwan, actually, we have a very big company, very specific in some of the IC memory component parts. But we do have some kind of company have experience in terms of integration service, like Acer, like MyTech. Dr. Chung used to work, the MyTech group is very big in kind of transportation solutions. Okay, so we also help support government formulate the so-called national level ITS master plan. So our client is not only the Ministry of Economic Affairs. Sometimes we do some project for the Ministry of Transportation Services. So it's a multiple ministry support project. So organization like TAITRA, like III, we have 2,000 people. 2/3 of our colleagues software engineer. And TAITRA probably you have more than 1,000 people. Okay, then all over the world on the foreign market, you can see most of their very excellent colleagues all over the world on the foreign. So that's you can see in Taiwan. Actually, there are a lot of organizations. We are not government officers, but we spend all of our time support government function. So this is a very example is most of the IT technology is supported by Ministry of Economic Affairs, but the transportation, the policy of transportation is done by another ministry. But ITS system, information intelligence transportation system, has to be done by both two ministries. So this is bureaucratic issues. We need to talk to different ministry. They have different thinking. This is I think this is the most difficult part for many countries, many governments in the world. Okay, the ETC, probably you are very familiar with that, and probably when you're in the highway, you don't feel anything about ETC, just go through, right? And they collect all the toll and deduct the money from your bank account. So it's not just Ministry of Transportation. It deals with what? Ministry of Finance, because you pay toll. They must have special contract or certificate. They won't be able to deduct money from your bank account. So this is a service in the industry. This is not an IT technology. So let's just take a very short film. It's about 3 minutes. Just to give you an idea that I think this is the 14 years ago. This is the first world without any human collect toll.
The CEO of FETC, Zhang Yongchun, co-hosted the launching ceremony for Taiwan's new ETC. Starting from January 2nd, 2014,
one day there are
Taiwan entered
15 million
era for
cars
electronic toll collection
on our highway
to
system.
manual
15 million.
Introducing
It's a
the
very, very
ETC,
big amount.
the leading technology in electronic toll collection and the first of its kind in the world. Drivers on the national freeway no longer need to slow down to pay the toll. Through this advanced technology, Ict can pick up a high-frequency signal and complete the identification within 0.02 milliseconds, allowing drivers to continue their journey uninterrupted.
In the beginning, they don't use
Behind this monumental construction, there were
they swap
countless
to
workers
another
and many
technology.
sleepless nights. In order to build 319 gantries on a 986-kilometer freeway, engineers had to race against time and non-stop motor vehicles, and regardless of the weather conditions, they worked day and night.
我们没过一个长达300多公里的工区了，所以你在人员的调度上面来讲，就是一个很大的问题了。高速公路每个晚上只有那么几个小时可以给我们，用路人在10点以后，甚至有时候到12点才能让我们封路。早上6点之前，我们要全部。
Our highway is like 300 kilometers. I know country like Kazakhstan, probably you have more than 2,000 kilometer highway system.
没有慢慢的，让它变成是一个流线状的，让它可以切过来这边。OK。
So this is not only the IT technology. It's a matter of how you use those construction process to shorten the construction time while the highway is still going on.
Within just 8 months, surpassing international standards and without any incident of workplace injury, the FETC completed all the toll collection gantries.
And I've seen just tremendous energy that's come from the team. And I think it's this tremendous energy that's led to the fact that you've put so many gantries in and you have such a clean installation and such a clean gantry. And I think that's a testament to the dedication and to the effort put in by the team. So, I mean, I'm very, very impressed. I think you all need a lot of congratulations. Well done.
From the front end to the back end of the technology, Taiwan developed and built the entire project domestically. Since launching the ETC, tolling accuracy is up to 99.9998%. With the help from governmental supervision and FETC monitoring, it has already superseded the rate in other countries. As of March 2014,
there are 94% of the penetration rate
was about
for the vehicles.
94%, and the number of users has reached over 5 million. The system is handling more than 13 million vehicles daily and coordinating the most complicated differential tolling rate under government policy.
我们希望在台湾做的东西是一个领先其他国家的设备跟技术，背着这样的使命感，我们觉得这个对未来的台湾的发展。
is also one of our good friends.
The electronic toll collection system on Taiwan's freeways is using the BOT model. The FETC is responsible for the maintenance and operation of the system, from the single-lane free flow to the multi-lane free flow, charging customers by mileage to promote a principle of fairness.
我们从北到南，南到北，盖了319个门架，一天达到1500万个交易量。这是一个非常非常高难度的一个专案，但从另外一个角度来讲，确实一个我们很珍贵的挑战的经验。
The ETC also contributes greatly towards environmental protection. Without having to stop, each car reduces 60 cc's of fuel consumption and 150 grams of carbon emissions. Over a 3-month period, this has prevented enough carbon emissions to fill 7 Olympic swimming pools. It makes driving safer, and the accident rate on freeways has been reduced by 20%. The ETC can be applied diversely, with features like providing real-time traffic information, parking updates and community management, tracking stolen vehicles and vehicle locating and rescue.
The front-end system of the new mileage-based system here in Taiwan is quite state-of-the-art, and in principle and under test conditions really able to deliver all the performance
This
and
is the
requirements that are
for almost every
So
94% of our
very good.
vehicle already successfully equipped
那
with
进
those
到
Ict.
Ict 的系统之后，它的余额是存在后端系统里面。这是一个整个精要的保护模式，是全世界不管是
Security issue about the
CIA 啊等等啊这些
your
这些
payment
单位用的保护机制都是一样。
相信在这个专案完成的过程中，会整体的提升整个 IT 厂商的这个 solution base 的能力，我想对将来的国际竞争力会有很大的帮助。
As I understand this project, at least there are more than 40 companies join this project. Hardware, software, components, service bases, even for payment, security
the ETC
solutions.
serves as a leading role in the development of information and transportation. Weighing just 1.2 grams, the convenient e-tag has infinite possibilities for intelligent transportation and lifestyle.
Okay, this will be a very ideal sample for not only in some of the European EBRD countries, but countries in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia. They are looking for this kind of solution. But also, as you can see, ETC is not only for toll collection. Actually, to my point it's like Taiwan already built up a digital infrastructure for all kinds of payment, all kinds of inspection, driver information system. So it's very useful. So in the recent year in Taiwan, actually we promoted ideas called mobility as a service. There's a lot of service you can deliver through the moving vehicles in terms of ticketing, travel information, parking, all kind of things. And actually, there are several projects that we help government. Just give you an idea on the transportation options. Actually, there are a lot of travel information, traffic situation, weather, all kinds of information that provided by different kind of service provider. Probably you notice that in Taiwan there are a lot of motorcycle scooter on the street, but one kind of is called a gogoro. Gogoro is very convenient. Remember I mentioned to you the convenience store? You can swap the battery for your very good-looking motorbike. When you pass through the convenience store, you can swap your a new battery. So this is one of, I show you the example. This is a very good idea for people because it's all electric electric motorbike, so they don't need to put gasoline. And different type of moving vehicle, we have the transparent payment ticketing system. And these are all the very important issue for so-called intelligent transportation system here in Taiwan. Actually, there are some kind of station for the public buses or train. So they are a very popular solution here in Taiwan to maintain the Taipei main station profile. All kinds of buses, all kinds of ticketing service altogether. And these are some kind of parking lot usage information. This is quite interesting that there's camera looking at the driver's face. So it can detect the facial when the driver feels asleep. They will provide some kind of warning signal, okay? And here in Taipei City, please do take some chance to look at, we have U-Bike, it's public rent bike. We have U-Moto, it's called WeMo. I think there are more than 2,000 motorbike. And you can use your card to ride those kind of, and some kind of U-card, electric car, without any kind of deposit. Okay, just look at the U-Bike. It's very, very convenient. If you notice that in mainland China, there are a lot of so-called bicycle for rent, but it's in a mess.
I've got my card.
But in Taipei, they have their docking system, so you cannot park anywhere you want.
Okay, so
you have to go back to return and deduct the balance for your car.
Then what do you do?
在任何地方借的 U-Bike， 你都可以到大台北地区所有的 U-Bike 地方去还。你假如说不知道哪里有 U-Bike，
I was told in Taipei City, probably there are more than 8,000 U-Bikes. Very available, very convenient to check the balance about all the locations. Still have the bike for rent. The average turnover rate, 7 times. And if you have a chance to ride the U-Bike, you know the quality of the bike. Very, very good, very, very high quality bike.
都有在运动，有自己的脚踏车。那平常你骑自己的脚踏车出去的话，可要
I think the country like Netherlands or Denmark,
很容易
the pop bike is very popular in those countries.
Have the bikes been effective in alleviating the traffic and air pollution?
Of course.
Of course.
If you saw some pictures of the city before we implement the station and after, you see the city was changed. It's clean, neat, and everything.
The lady was the owner, the sister of the owner of Giant. You know the Giant, the Taiwanese autobike maker. Okay. So these are just a few examples I'd like to show you. Is Taiwan is no longer just very good in product manufacturing. We are not just good at making product, but as you can see, there are a lot of issues between the device, vehicles, and the system, the back-end system to support. And we also have a very strong capability to manage those data by driver's data, the toll deduction, banking account data, all kinds of moving vehicle data operate by some kind of very good up-to-date technology operator in Taiwan. So it's very important that government should develop some kind of how much the value the smart transportation can create. Actually, there are many, you can see straightforward, very time saving, security, digital life, and money saving. So I think in Taiwan, particularly on our ICT capabilities. So we spend a lot of government budget in terms of building up the digital infrastructure. So ETC is just one of the digital infrastructure because we have so many vehicles. The penetration rate is so high as 94%. So you can imagine how we can collect information from those moving vehicles. Then we can do all kinds of application. And even not in the highway, they can use all kinds of parking service through the ETC, the RFID technology. And I think most of the government, most of the major cities in the world, they are suffering a very serious traffic congestion problem. So hope that kind of information intelligence transportation system can help to reduce some kind of situation for the city, for the major city in many countries. Okay, on my last part of the presentation, actually I just summarize that our ministry, actually we work together with TAITRA. We help to promote a lot of we call ICT product into solution, that kind of experience. People used to understand that Taiwan made a lot of solar panel, but probably you don't know that Taiwan has the ability to build up the solar plant, and we will be able to operate those solar plants for our client, which means we have a better efficiency way to operate those solar plants so that they can, the investors or the government have a better returns on those kind of energy policy. So this is one example. Even in Kazakhstan, a few years ago, we have actually some of the project is supported by a Taiwanese company. And smart public transportation for the buses, for the bus scheduling, the back-end ERP solutions, they are all increase the efficiency and the application innovation for our bus operator. And parking, probably here in Taiwan is already very popular, since we have a lot of visualization system, visual technology, so we can manage by the plate number. And don't forget, most of the car has a ETC, E-Tech. So there will be a very ideal source to do all kinds of intelligence parking management, okay? This is most of probably many of you will be able have interest to look at the so-called street light. Street light is no longer light. It's no longer just for lighting. Actually, they have a lot of function that more than what we can think a few years ago. Collect the surveillance purpose, collect the air quality. Sometimes in some countries, they have they can look at who did this, who do the illegal littering. So they will be able to collect all kinds of information just by street light posting. They put a lot of things on that. The problem is, it's not difficult to build this product. The problem is, how do you integrate this component, those products, into a service system? That is the key point. How do you manage, how do you operate the whole system to verify those kind of different situations, and how do you send this information to the related government city agency to protect or to prevent those kind of things in kind of it should not happen. And microgrid for solar system, since Taiwan has a many very strong solar technology company. So we actually help to build some kind of countries like Philippines, Indonesia, with those countries with many islands, many isolated islands. So we have a small scale solar system to build up those. For those small islands, they won't spend very big budget to build up the solar power plant. This is one of Taiwanese companies' strengths. And this for the remote area. For some, even in Taiwan, there are some mountain area. They need to build a very small solar energy system because Taiwan has a lot of typhoon, earthquake, natural disasters. So actually, one of Taiwan's company's capability is so-called disaster recovery. How can you attacked by a very serious typhoon, hurricane, and you can recover the power system, or you can recover the telecommunication system within a few hours? Actually, Taiwanese company has a lot of experience here in this area because we in Taiwan we have a lot of natural disaster. We have a lot of experience. These are the remote areas so that we can use that very, very remote area so that they can recover within a very, very short time. Okay, so I think as a conclusion or as a welcome you again, I think Taiwan is no longer the place that with its very famous for the making of ICT product only. Actually, we do have all kinds of application in terms of different type of domain knowledge. Actually, we have a lot of experience to support the local government, local city government level to solve the different issues. Okay, thank you. But on my last appendix, I'd like to show these are the several major ICT solutions that government, our ministry, has select and to promote those major ICT solutions that we would like to work with our foreign friends, like a smart campus, not only the hardware system, but a lot of learning system, healthcare system, campus security system, and the lighting. Lighting is only lighting. You can use those lighting in many areas like tourist lighting, the in-house plan lighting, the smart home lighting solutions. So we are not selling lighting, we are selling smart lighting solutions, like healthcare. Taiwan is very famous for our healthcare system. It's a pity we cannot export our doctors and nurses, but we will be able to explore our process, how to deal with for the patient. Just like hospital, last year we visit with Dr. Chong. It's a very user-oriented service system. You go to the hospital, you like you are going to a hotel desk. The service, the information provided to you is so convenient, so remote service for them. Okay, for the some kind of national security project, probably you will see when you're in the airport. Most of our citizens can go to the direct export system without any long queue, and so all kinds of citizen service system. And the solar energy, I mentioned to you there, we have a lot of experience in US, in Japan, in some of the Asian countries. Even for the larger petrochemical plant, actually Taiwan has a lot of experience so that we can export those kind of solution with our foreign partners. Okay. And thank you for your attention. Again, I welcome you to Taipei, and don't forget to visit some of our convenience store. Don't forget to take a chance to ride our U-bike. And if you have a motorcycle license, probably you can try our Wemo or auto bike. It's very convenient. My son told me, when you have an app, you look at the nearby area, how many motorbike you can be available for you. Those motorbike with battery more than 50%, only they show this kind of autobike. So this will avoid, you find a motorbike, but they are out of battery. So this is very, very convenient, very kind application for all the public service provided to Taipei citizen. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Mike. I'm glad to be here to introduce some of our smart city experience. But before we start, I really don't want to bore you with a lot of talks. So if you have any questions on the things that I talked about, you want to ask me, feel free. I hope this can be very interactive. Me as a person have a lot of interaction with EBRD before. I used to be small business consultants like Philip where I went to different countries. I think I went to Mongolia, Tajikistan, and also Azerbaijan. Okay, so when I told my friend that I'm going to Azerbaijan in Taiwan, and they had said, where the heck is that place in the map? You know, they don't even know where that is. So I would like to make sure that this presentation can be very interactive. So if you have any questions, you're welcome. What I'm about to share you is a journey that Firestone took in smart cities. Okay, smart city is actually a very interesting field. It deploys a lot of technology into a very wide area. Okay, that possesses a lot of challenges, but it's also, I believe, is a very important progress for many countries in the future. So what I'm about to share you is our journey of it. The topic is actually from environmental monitoring to machine learning. The basic idea is we deploy a lot of sensors in the city. After you deploy the sensors, then you start to use the data you collect. So what I'm going to show you is actually the progress, the process that we went through to do all this, okay? You see many different examples. Philips comes in now, okay? Philips, you hear half the presentation before, but I have new ones there in the later half, okay? I'm also happy to share with you that we brought a group of EBRD visitors to Tainan. That's the later on the project that I'm going to talk about maybe a month ago. It was quite a successful visit, and they got a chance to really see it instead of just listening to it. Okay, all right, next. Anyway, sorry. Where's the this one? Thank you. So I'm going to talk about smart city infrastructures. I think most of you may have interest in these areas, how you want to build it. And then I talked about machine learnings. When you gather all this data, how you can use machine learning techniques to actually make sense of those data to really deliver real values. Okay. Sorry. And then share with you a bit of a lesson that we learned. Okay. All right. We had an opportunity to work with a city called Tainan, which is the south of Taiwan. It's the oldest city in Taiwan. Okay. Taipei is not the first capital. It used to be a city called Tainan. That's about 300 kilometers away. All right. And that's where the original mainland China people landed. All right. So. And now it's become an old city, a very old city with a lot of histories. So we had a chance to work with Tainan City for 2 years, and in different areas, which includes, healthcare, transportation, education, government, tourism, and water disaster prevention. We had a chance to work with them to see how technology can impact in those different areas, how we put different things into it, and see how we can interact with the city, day-to-day city operations. Okay, so it was a big learning process for us. I believe it's also a big learning process for them too, because they never had a chance to really work with, at the time, state of the art. Okay, the project actually was between 2015 to 2017. So at the time, what we put in was something at the time was state of the art. Okay, so it was quite a big project size. It's close to $30 million in the 6 different areas. And I want to mention one thing that's very important. When you deploy those smart city stuff into a city. Don't do it just for the technology purposes. All right? You need to think about what is the impact or what are the impacts that your technology impact the citizen. You have to think through this beforehand. You don't want to do this afterwards, so that you know how the technology impacts citizens. Why? Because your customer are politicians. Yeah? You work with cities, which means, I don't know, I read the manifest. I think today are mainly technology people, right? Is there any city government people here? Oh, yeah, okay. So I can be more frank, okay? They are politicians, all right? Politicians survive by getting favorable responses from citizens. So when they want to do technology projects, they want to make sure that they get favorable responses from the citizens. So you need to think beforehand how technology impact them, all right? Why they want to use this. Okay, so you need to have a way to figure, you have to figure this out beforehand, all right? So it's very important. You can skip all these areas, but remember this, not just technology. You have to figure out how you promote the usage of it too, right? So think about this before you really put technology in place, so that you may not run into a situation where all your technology is actually wasted. Tainan, give you a feel of it, all right? Yes?
The topic of thinking, should it be the city that's thinking or me as a technology provider thinking for them?
I'll be honest, the beginning of it has to be you. Because government people do not understand how technology impacts. So there are two approaches you can take. One is leveraging what they have. So there are areas they already put technology in, and the government official understand how technology works. And from that, they can think. And that will be easier. But there are other areas where they never had any chances of putting new technology in. You have to think for them first. Because it's very difficult for them to think out of blue sky how this actually impacts. So the reality is the first step has to be taken by technology providers. So there are a lot of big companies, US companies, they tend to think that we provide the technology only, and it's the government need to think how that impacts people. But my experience is the first step has to be taken by technology providers. And you see government, when they learn about it, they will move on by themselves. They will move on by themselves.
So you just need to give them the first push.
Yes. So the first push is actually very hard, because we are technology providers, we are not politicians, we have no idea. What does that mean by impacting citizens' life? It's not an easy thing. So it depends on the question. Later on, I'll give you a bit of why different pieces is there, okay? You see that technology has, why we put in this technology has a lot to do with how this city government works. Has a lot to do with that. And what the environment is, okay? So the first step has to be us, okay? Tainan City is a combination of dense city and rural areas. There are about 2 million populations, 6th largest city in Taiwan. And it's a 300-year-old city, so a lot of things that we cannot change. So we cannot demolish a lot of city and build a new one. So there are a lot of old streets, very little places, very bad traffic, okay? So you see that, all right? So, but I will encourage you, you have a chance, definitely go take a look at Tainan. It's a very, very, you have a very strong sense of history there, okay? So it's a very representative area of Taiwan. However, there are also a lot of challenges. I just name a few, and I'm not going to explain to you what they are. Some I might, but and there are many different challenges. These are related to why we put in technologies. Tainan was a merge of two cities. Okay, so there are two city centers. It was merged approximately 10 years ago. Today, it still has two city centers. So merging two companies is easy, right? A company goes into B company, you merge it, the company take over and everything runs from one place. But merging two cities are very difficult. They are not like merging companies. So after 10 years of merge, Tainan still runs two city centers. You can imagine that there are two data depository, two set of systems running for the same purposes, and a lot of things cannot change. So there's actually quite interesting, and we did not know about this. Only when we landed, I said, oh, okay. It's old town, has a lot of traffic problems. It has lowland areas. It used to be a port. A lot of Tainan's land are actually deposit of river sands. So it's gradually rising. So if you see part of Tainan today, 300 years ago, it's actually ocean. Okay, so it's lowland, a lot of lowland areas, has the highest percentage of lowland areas in Taiwan. Okay, it's aging population, a lot of young people come to cities like Taipei for work, so population is aging. It's highly tourist-centric. It's actually the largest city for tourism besides Taipei. All right, so it has approximately 700,000 people in the Tainan central city areas with yearly visitor close to 7 million. So you are looking at approximately 1 citizen live there versus 10 visitors coming every year. Approximately. It's not a big ratio. Okay, some other places, the ratio can all the way, like some places in Thailand, like Pattaya, for example, the ratio is approximately 1 to 100. So 1 citizen in Pattaya hosted 100 visitors from outside. So it's not a crazy ratio, but it's a ratio that is actually quite high, right? So just give a feel of it. What's that, all right? And working with government is really hard. Yep. Okay. Before we even start the project, we had, no, there's more than, it turns out it was 253 meetings before we even started the whole thing, right? And we also get some funding from central government too, which means a lot of paperwork we have to submit on a quarterly basis. So after countless project review with the funding source, before the project starts, we have to have more than 200 meetings with the city government, and this is what comes out, right?
Tainan is the oldest city in Taiwan with historical and cultural heritage in people's daily life. Tainan is a fine city to live in, but it faces many challenges that have arisen from its geographical constraints and narrow streets. Tainan City and Far East Tone Telecommunications formed a strategic alliance to leverage state-of-the-art 4G mobile infrastructure and IoT technology to solve real-life challenges of an old city and to create Taiwan's first 4G smart city. The Smart Water Disaster Prevention Platform was designed and tested in the most stringent and realistic scenarios in order to protect citizens' lives and assets. Using 4G to relay images and command sequences in real time, the command center can remotely monitor and control designated water pumping stations and flood control systems. Patrol staff with surveillance camera wearable packs allows the command center to monitor on-site situations in real time. Online to offline O2O mobile commerce ecosystem was built together with a beacon solution. We can promote local featured stores and analyze tourism flow in a timely fashion. This ecosystem includes a mobile app and coupon exchange mechanism with local store owners. Real commercial benefits can be enjoyed by participating stores and mobile app users. Far East Home uses mobile network big data analytics to provide real-time speed information for all roads in Tainan. A real-time bus tracking mobile app was built to provide real-time public transportation facilities information to Tainan citizens. The strategic collaboration of a mobile carrier and a city government allows Tainan to respond to emergencies with much better technology capabilities. Far East Tone is at the cutting edge of creating people-friendly smart cities.
Get back to, thank you, May. You're a lifesaver. Yes?
Choosing the mobile carrier, was it based on just the capabilities or that there are government ownership?
Okay.
Security is
There's a reason for that. What really faces, what the real challenge faces today for those government people are they start to see a lot of new technology coming up. But they do not know how effective those technologies are. People telling them, oh, this is new, this is important, this is revolutionary, they are changing the world, but they have no idea. And they start to see a lot of pieces. Why the Tainan City, why we actually proposed the idea first, but why is Tainan City is willing to work with it? There's a really fundamental reason. They now have a big company that they can work with to integrate those things. So for government point of view, they need to have somebody with enough financial capabilities to help them to integrate different pieces of technology together.
Yeah, I understand that, but when it comes to security and
that I think is something sort of additional.
So, but yeah, the company was not government owned or? No,
we are completely private telecom. So we are not a government owned telecom. But I'll be very honest. We have a telecom in Taiwan called Chunghwa Telecom. They are they started with national. The government still owns 30% of it. They do a lot of smart city too. So I think carriers has a natural position doing this kind of project because their financial capabilities, and also one more thing is that carriers are used to face regular people. So when the city want to promote service through carriers, they have a much natural path to the citizens. So we, as a carrier, we face 7 million subscribers every day. So that means we talk to regular consumers. So when we want to promote certain smart city application to the users, we have a means to do it by ourselves. Regular tech company will have difficulty dealing with this. So if you say, oh, okay, I'm building a software app for APC government, and the government say, oh, okay, you cannot just build me an app, right? I want approximately 50,000 users on it. And tech company will have problems, say, oh, okay, how do I get 50,000 people, yeah? Carriers are natural doing all this. We are running promotions, we are doing a lot of things on a daily basis. So there are reasons for that, all right? But I don't mean that you should go back and work with your carriers. I don't really mean that. It's just, you need to pick out elements that are important. So today's government will tend to work with big integrators because they have to somehow endure the risk of deploying new technology. So if you know how to mitigate the risk, they will like it, yeah? And the second thing is, when they deploy a service, they have to let the citizen know. So you got to have a means and ways to help them to do that, so that they can be felt by the citizens, right? So, oh, I do this app, and now in 2 months' time, there are 50,000 users already. It really impacts the population, so they understand. So there are two elements that when you go in and help the government, you need to think about it. Don't do it afterwards. Right? You need to think a bit beforehand. So this is something that is quite important. So here, I talked about real impacts because all the measurements of this project are actually measured by numbers. So how many subscribers, percentage of users, what is the revenue created, number of measurements. So it's very, very numerical measurements against it. And the reason why it's designed that way is because the government really wants all this technology to be felt. All right. This is actually something that, so it was as I said, it was a 2-year project. And it took us to do technology for 1 year and service promotion for another year. So it was not 2 years technology project. It wound up actually, it only took us a year to do all these different technology pieces. But we spent another year just to promote service so that we can get all this out. So how many students are using the platforms, how many bus riders are actually using the app or how it impacts, how many of them are using the Wi-Fi on the buses, how many measurements are taken from these cloud healthcare platforms, and what is actually the revenues that are created from tourist-related applications. So you see that we are not talking about apps, telecommunication networks, we are not talking about that. All right, so this is something that I would suggest that you also need to think a bit beforehand. If your government understands how technology works, then they will figure this out by themselves. The contract they give you may be only the technology piece only. Okay, and different countries have very different background. So it's very important that you understand the background of the city. I'll talk a bit about different solutions, but I will not focus too much about technology piece, and I'll explain to you why it's done. Why Tainan wants to do a lot of public transportations. Because Tainan has very narrow roads, not a lot of new roads opportunities. And the most common transportation tools in Tainan is motorcycles. So it creates a lot of complexity of the network because a lot of motorcycles are running in the streets. They want to reduce the use of motorcycles. But motorcycle is so convenient, right? End to end. So they want to replace it with buses, but they have been trying it for over 10 years. It's very difficult. Why? Bus is not end-to-end, right? Bus is not an end-to-end transportation mechanism. Bus is point-to-point. So when you talk about end-to-end, somebody has to link all the points. So what do they plan to do? They want to make sure that the bus riding experience are getting better. So people tend to use it if they have a chance. So that's the reason why you talk about bus stops with good information, know when the bus comes. You want to let them be able to use their mobile phone on the bus. So there is actually 4G Wi-Fi on it. And they use the bus to monitor the streets. This is why you see real-time video actually looking outwards on the streets so that their traffic centers actually can see the streets, the traffic situations in real time through these 100 cameras on the buses. So the bus is running, the center actually knows what's happening, okay? So, as I said, there are always backgrounds about it. And then I can go further into details about how we build the smart buses, you know, what are the devices, OBUs, and stuff like that. But I'm probably not going to go into that today. So this is example. So how we put the buses together. There's one idea is actually, I think, kind of nice. We can only upgrade approximately 1,000 bus stops, but the whole Tainan city has close to 9,000 bus stops, which means we cannot upgrade all of them, right? The Tainan city will not have money to upgrade all of them either. So what do? We actually help them to build virtual bus stops. So this is the bus stop that's not updated, but if an APP, it actually creates a smart bus stop and tell you where the different stop is and how long it will take to come here. So through mobile phones, the bus stop becomes an intelligent one, instead of replacing all 8,000 of them into a smart one. Okay, so this actually is I think it's a good idea from them, not us. We didn't do this part. It's their ideas, we actually implemented. So instead of deploying 9,000 smart bus stops, they actually do APP to enhance it. Okay, quite interesting ideas. All right. And this is things like you go on the bus, we have Wi-Fi, so we can push message to it. There are beacons. So the whole idea is to enhance the experience. Okay. And as I said, there are 2 city centers. What do we do to link these 2 city centers together so the data can be actually used? There is also a background of it. You know, I don't know if you know that making 2 city government working together is extremely difficult. So when they merge these 2 entities together, the operations still look like 2. So you see 2 city centers, different operations. The application still in the old city center still runs. The data is still there. You cannot move them. So what to do? So this actually is our idea. We said, you know, why don't you put all the data in one place first? So you have a central data depository first. I'm not going to suggest you to change all your application out there. So many of them. Some runs over 10 years. You cannot change them. What do? Make sure that there is a central data depository. The data can be copied in one place, and later on, you can have an interface to it and do it in an additional way. Instead of trying to rip all the old applications, trying to change them, and then creates a lot of havoc of it. Right? So this is how this come about. They say, yeah, this is a good idea. So what we do is we actually link the 2 city center with optical fibers, and put in additional cloud service center for them, and so that the data can be start to centralize deposit in cloud. And it took us some time to convince them that the cloud data center is not in Tainan. They were saying, oh, okay, we are Tainan City, right? And now, Mike, if you want to have additional cloud data centers to deposit Tainan City data, I want the data center in Tainan. We said, well, it's cloud, right? You should not care where that is. And it took us quite some time to convince them. And the data center that deposited their data is actually in Kaohsiung. It's a different city. So it was some effort to convince them that they should be able to think things in cloud and a centralized data depository to consolidate all applications. And this is why it comes about, right? And you can see now there's a dashboard, and then start migrating application onto the cloud platform. Okay, there's this technology piece, right? The fiber network and application integration, stuff like that. So I'm not going to bore you with all this, right? And as I said, Tainan is very easily flooded. So every time when the typhoon comes, it becomes like a war to them, that they have to prepare, they have to get a lot of things together and make sure that the flooding is not getting really bad, right? So, but since that's the case, it's easily flooded, what do we do? So what we help them to do is they want to have a capability of seeing the real side, what's happening out there. So they need a video relay of the flooded area back to the disaster control center right away. So you can see a wearable. And you might see, oh, Mike, doing a wearable today is very simple, right? The answer is no. You have to think the following way, you know. Number one, when they go out, it must be rains, cats and dogs. It's typhoon, right? It's windy, and they go out, they are in raining gears. So the idea of using a mobile phone doesn't work, right? They have to be both hand-free because they may need to operate machinery or climbing, or the road may not be that good. So they have to be able to both hand-free when they're doing all the recording outside. So the first version we gave them was a police body cam. Body camera in the middle of it with a vest on it. They look at it, they say, no. We said, why? They said, oh, okay, we go out when it rains, we go out, we have rain gears on the outside. So you wear the body cam, you put the rain gear on, the body cam, you cannot see shit, right? So body cam the camera has to be completely outside of everything. So it has to be waterproofed, yeah? And the next thing is, what do you have to consider? It rains and they have to be out there sometimes for over 20 hours. So which means you have to consider the power. The whole set has to be able to operate in a 24-hour fashion without charging. I don't know if you know, I know if you place floods. When places flood, the first thing the electrical company do is cut the power. Yeah? Because they don't want shortages all over the place. When you have short, it actually burns. Yeah? When you have short on the circuit, especially the feeding circuit, it might create fire. So when it's flooded, they cut the power. So which means you carry all this gear out, it will be not practical to look for places to charge. So it was something that, you know, why I talked about this, it was something that we take for granted, but in that operating environment, it's not granted. So things has to be redesigned. So if you look at our final product, we actually have a battery pack that they can operate for 12 hours continuously on a 4G video sets. And some of you do some bit of IoT work, you know that that's actually quite some power consumptions. If you have to recording 24 hours continuously for 12 hours on our micro sets, that's actually some power consumption too. Okay, so things like that. We build them real-time monitoring stations so that they can actually monitor some of the strategic locations of the rivers, so they don't know the ups and downs of it. Yes.
About wearable video survival. Do you recognize the video from the operators online, or you analyze it after they collect the data?
Okay, in 2015, there was no such software capability to do online, real-time video feeds analysis. Yes, today I think after accumulating some data, they can start to do that in a practical way.
Do they do it automatically?
Not yet, not yet. Now currently, I can tell you that the thing is that we actually build it for them, right? A year later, they come to us and say, okay, Mike, now there are 48 stations. So when the typhoon comes, we cannot sit people and looking at those 48 stations constantly. So we need to give them a real-time warning from the videos. So this is something that we are building right now. So it's, you'll see from the monitoring to intelligence. That's how it works. Yeah. So yes, we are doing it, but we didn't build it in 2015. And then water disaster management and mobile app for information access. So think about this application. Do you see a lot of users for this application? The answer is no. So for this application, you will not get a lot of user count. The second thing is, let me ask you, what's the purpose of doing water disaster management? It's when things happen, they can prevent the disaster to expand, yeah? So which means the ultimate purpose of the water disaster management system is what? Nothing happens. The better you do it, nothing happens. So this is the worst example of deploying technology. When we talk about impacts, the impact is nothing happens. And you see the paradox of it, yeah? You spend more money on this, nothing happens. The citizen will ask, why do you spend so much money on this? Nothing is happening. Why do you spend so much money, yeah? So you need to figure out some of the application, they use different metrics than regular consumer applications. I need to think through that too. I'd be very careful about where we deploy resources into different areas. This is the technology piece, the monitoring, the routers and stuff. All right, so I'm not going into this. This is also a very interesting platform. They want to build a mobile education platform. So at the time, we suggest to the Tainan city government that, oh, this is good. So why don't we actually start to move teaching classes onto this platform, right? So you can teach regular courses on this kind of mobile platforms. And they refused it. Why? The Tainan city is running a public education system. They do not want to create star teachers. When you have a video-based online education platforms, it has a strong tendency of creating star teachers. Some teachers are very good, so their video will be view and view and view, and they can compare with the teachers that I get and say, oh, my teacher sucks, you know. Somebody else is much better. So they decided not to run any core course on this platform, and they only use it for outside activities. So you see, when a decision like that is made, the application, the user counts, and application scenarios become drastically different. Suddenly, we now have to need to encourage teachers to create new materials. So in addition to just the platform, it took us a lot of effort to figure out how to participate, how to get the teachers to participate. It's very difficult because the teachers say, oh, no, why should I spend my time to do video production for a course probably only runs twice a year? And we have to see, you know, talk to the government too. You know, you have to have an incentive, you have to have this, you have that, so that they are willing to create it. Right? So technology, policies, impacts where the technology will be used. The former Tainan city mayor is a doctor. He's currently the premier of Taiwan. Okay. So he has a really strong sense that he has an aging population. He has to be able to monitor it. So he wants to create a cloud-based monitoring, healthcare monitoring platform so that he can help to see how his aging population looks like. And he wants to establish some health baselines. It was a good idea, and technology is already there. But when we deploy to the community center, it took us a lot of effort to educate them. Why we have to do this? And you see some of the community center are so good after that, they use this, a little platform, to become a center for aging population. So they encourage them to come back. You should come back and to monitor your blood pressures, maybe monthly. And why they have to come back is not just for monitoring, so they have to do some activities so that they come back. It becomes a spiraling effect, creates a community, aging community focal point in the community, all of this. And some are very good at doing it. And we visited one of them last time when I brought EBRD team there. And I'll skip all this technology jumble mumble. And find this is laughing. As I said, Tainan is a tourist city. So what they want to do is they want to have a way to promote small business, not big business. They want to have a way to promote their little stores, feature stores, famous places to the tourists so that they can even further spread the tourists into smaller stores to encourage local economies. And so what do we do? So we actually build a coupon mechanism for them so that we can help them to promote these coupons to the tourists. This is a nutshell, a very simple one. And in the meantime, they want to be able to see roughly how the tourists are moving along in their different locations. So that's why the beacons are there. And I'll share with you a story too. When we first launched this service, about 3 months later, there was a big earthquake hit Tainan. Some of you in Taiwan will remember that. There's a big building fell down. A lot of people died in that disaster. Okay? And it happened right before Chinese New Year, which is one of their key tourism time. So which means that Tainan had a disaster 3 days before Chinese New Year. So when Chinese New Year holiday comes, they do not know how much the impact was. So at the time they say, oh, okay, it happened, and now we have a disaster management currently running on this building, a collapsed building, but we need to still hopefully that the tourists still come back to Tainan, right? Because Chinese New Year is coming. And they do not know, they have no idea what the impact really was. At the time we just launched this, so they used this beacon to check roughly where there are tourists in different locations. At the time we did it in one very famous tourist location called Annan areas. We deployed 800 of them in a very small area. So by the count of it, we realized that the first 2 days were very heavily impacted. Later on, it came back the 3rd and 4th days. It was a 4-day holiday. Okay. So they had a very clear picture of it, what's going on, and roughly what the impact was out of that disaster. So there are things, there are additional impacts when you deploy technology into cities. One example I'll share with you that actually mentioned in the video is that when we were doing all these smart city things, Thailand were hit by dengue fevers in 2015. They got 1,000 cases in about 4 weeks timeline, very quickly, very heavily impacted. So at the time we were doing all this project with them, so we went to them and say, oh, okay, now you have a disaster, which is a dengue fever outbreak. What can we do for you? Remember in the video, there was 3D maps of the occurrences of different cases. Can we go back to the video for me? Okay. 刚才对，不是刚才那个，刚才这个对，刚才这个，对。Yeah, can we go back to approximately here?
allows Tainan to respond to emergencies with much better technology capabilities.
Stop. 可以回去一点点，刚才那个对，就刚才那个图，就这个图对。Okay, this is what we built for them. What is this? This actually, you see a map. This is occurrence of cases in different regions, locales. So it's actually a geographic presentation of where actually the dengue fever outbreak is. So we did this for them so that they have a quick visualization of the impact of areas. And you can see right away, obviously this area will impact it very heavily. Dengue fever is a disease is transmitted by mosquitoes. So it has a really sense of localities. So it's not spreading very quickly, it's spreading by mosquitoes, which means certain area will be impacted very heavily. And you said, oh, it should be easy, right? And it's not, because if you imagine in the city clinic, the cases come in all directions. So when they get reports, the records are coming in all directions. So it will not be nicely sorted. And also, people got stung by mosquito in one place, they may live in another part of the town. So they may go to the doctor in different places. So it's not a very locale reporting mechanism. And we actually deploy at the time, a generic BI for them and just roll it in, okay? Then later on, they need to track those people who spread insecticides. And we did a very quick work for them too. So what I want to share with you is that as a technologist, when we work with cities, the best place, the best time for us to outperform, unfortunately, is disasters. So when disasters happens, technology can have a chance to show itself. And don't hesitate to do it. Sometimes you have to invest for yourself to do that. Okay, so this is something that it's quite important. So here in the videos that in 48 hours, we actually build a mobile IoT application for them so that they can track the people who is spraying insecticides in citywide. And we actually literally did it in 48 hours. Okay. So sometimes CT provides you with a framework that technology can be deployed and utilized in many different fashions that's difficult to imagine in commercial environments. Well, that's the reason why I said, smart city actually has a good opportunities in the next few years. And then now putting all this together is just environment, information collections, and information gathering. How do you really deliver values? And this is this pyramid that we have to climb through. We did a lot of work here. That was what you saw in 2015 and 2017. We start to gather data. By the time the concept of data collection and how you organize it is not very clear. So what we want to do is we want to find a showcase to really penetrate all the way to the end and see how we can deliver value from the data. Right? This is the example that we use air quality data and also weather station data to actually forecast air qualities. So this is one example that I want to share with you, that when you work with the government to collect data, you need to have a view to see how you use it. And also, it's also important that you learn from it. When you gather all this data, you learn from it too. So it would be better that you work with your government and let them understand it and do it in a stepwise way. So you gather data first, and then you start to utilize the data for other purposes. 这个可能你有连结吗？有，你这个有，不是就这个，它是。All right, hold on. hold on, give me a minute. I have another video to show you, but this is a PDF, so it's. Documents, Smart City 台南。对，这是 PDF 啊，这 PowerPoint 对，然后你就走到这一页，它就有个。Apologize that the material I sent in is a PDF, but the PowerPoint actually has a video embedded. 第20几页 ，OK， 就22这样。把它放出来就好，放下，放下。You can see this is a very techy presentation. A lot of new words. It's probably more in line with what's currently happening technology-wise. This is one example that after you collect the data, what you can use. But I want to share with you that it turns out that the technology intensity to use data can be quite high. You need to deploy a lot of very state-of-the-art mechanisms to really make sense of data that you collected. It's probably not straightforward, but luckily enough, today, there are so many different tools that you can use to make sense of the data you collected. And it takes some time to really submerge yourself into this to figure things out. So it's not something like a software development project that you can do a very standardized project plans. It's sort of like it's sort of like exploration journeys that you have to go through to make sense of the data you collected. So it's the way you manage it can be quite different from the way you manage a regular software development processes. Because you need to spend some time, and undeterministic time, to explore the data you collected. And what are the amount of data needed to really deliver true value, nobody really knows at this moment in time. There's actually a worldwide effort to make sense of the data collected in the past 5 years from different sources. There are different people combining different things. Yes?
You mean exploring the data in the sense of trying to get information out of it, or exploring the data looking for missing parameters that you want to collect?
There's a you talked about exactly the two steps. The step number one is trying to extract more information from the data you have. While extracting it, you will start to see what additional parameters should be collected so that you can improve the information quality. So in this case, for example, Taiwanese weather stations, in this case, for example, in London alone, there are 81 live air quality stations currently monitoring London air qualities. In Taiwan, the whole island has only 77. There are really big disparity on the density of the sensors. That's the reason why in this case, it's important to have a contrast, two comparison models side by side together to do it, okay? And you see London station is collecting a lot of information that Taiwanese weather station does not publish. So you see there are information content differences too, okay?
Yeah, but the point here is that the device itself is capable, it's rather than that you're just not extracting that kind of information.
No,
because if the information is not there, then you have to change it.
Yes. So the step one is try to make the best sense out of it from the data you collect. You never collect enough data anyway. In this case, we want to see if we can build an air quality forecast model. So you want to do forecasts, right? There are a lot of parameters in there. In this case, I'm using this case as an example. And when you run a machine learning model against it, you realize that how much information you can extract from it. For example, in Taiwan's case, we have approximately 70% of accuracies in predicting it on the model learning. But in London case, we can achieve approximately 80%. So which means data collection quality has a bit of disparities and also have different reason of air quality issues, okay? So when you start to noticing that, you will see you should put in additional sensors in.
But usually it works the other way around. I mean, in the beginning, I decide what kind of data I want, and accordingly, I choose the sensor that provides me with the data, and then I can play with the data, the model, the extraction, the information. But going the other way means that I will have to probably change sensors.
It is a process. It will be a process like that. I'll be honest with you, because at this moment in time, as I said, when you start to learn something from the data, at this moment in time is a exploration journeys, which means you do not know exactly what you will learn from your data you collected. So you imagine a bit, this is what I can do.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
The initial scope. I mean,
yes. And then when you go into it, you realize that, yes, it achieved, and I would say maybe over 60% of chances will not achieve, because we do not exactly know whether we have, what exactly is the information we need to achieve the original concept. So here, for example, in this case, if the original concept is to provide a 24-hour forecast of air quality, I can tell you neither the London information collection and the Taiwanese information collection is sufficient, because London gets only 80% of accuracy and Taiwan gets 70%. So there's still something missing there. So it's always like that. It's always like that. When you start to do environmental monitoring and modeling, And then it will actually create a feedback loop. Say, oh, okay, you should do additional here, or you should, in Taiwanese case, for example, we realize that the density of the sensor are very, not, compared with London is much far apart. So, which means that they need to have ways to enhance the resolution of the sensors. But the government sensor is very expensive. So the government came out with a way to do cheap sensors all over the place. But does it work? Now you have two different sensor qualities. Things like that. So it becomes a iterative process. It's not going to be, as I said, it's not a software engineering process where you have a understanding and clear objective at the end. You scope out the project plans and details and everything. Data is not like that.
Yeah, but the problem is, I mean, going through this loop means that the project would take an unforeseen amount of time.
No. You break it. You have to
politically.
Understand. So, as I said, you are thinking in software. No, it's not. So you have to make it like steps. Always, it's one step forward, and then you figure out the next step.
I understand, but
yeah.
I'm talking from the city point of view and politicians' point of view. They might see that the outcome is not what they expected. They didn't achieve the citizen satisfaction or that they're looking for.
Okay.
The project is taking
so yes, all right. So for information extraction from the data, you need to figure out if the methodology has been established. In this case, what we are doing is something, after I did this, I did a little bit of research, of course, right? It's different from what the current air quality research people are doing. They're doing with atmospheric research and the patterns and propagation models. So they are dealing with the whole wide big areas. This model actually deal with sensor by sensors type of thing. So it's very different thing. So here we start something completely new. Okay. So number one is, if somebody has done something beforehand, and you use that approach, and that creates a software engineering approach. You already know the algorithm. All you have to do is implement it here. But a lot of cases are not like that. You are extracting data from your local sources, making sense out of your local informations, and the approach you take may not be something that's already there. That's the reason why I said there are a lot of efforts right now worldwide to make sense of data collected in the past 5 years. And a lot of those senses, for example, London is a city without industry pollutions. But Taiwan, there are many cities they do have industry pollutions. So the model can be different too. Factors are different too, even under the same problem sets. So anything related to data, you want to make sense out of data extracted, you have two approaches, as I said. One is you take something that's already been done, replicate it. That's a software engineering approach. But there is another set where you are really making sense of the data from the data you collected. And that will be a journey that you will take. And to take that journey, I will advise, don't take the software engineering approach. You need to be able to split it, divide it, break it, and understand the steps going across.
The question here, who would be doing that kind of thinking and analyzing data? Because we're talking us as technology providers.
Yes.
But we are not weather experts.
So pick the problem. I know this is really a really big steps that we took as a carrier, but pick the problem. I'm not saying, I'm not recommending you do weather related today. I'm not saying that.
We are technology providers. We don't have this know-how. I mean, you have to get someone.
Yes, work with somebody. You definitely have to. You have to. To do any kind of information extraction from data, you definitely technology, domain know-hows, domain expert is somebody, how to work with domain experts is something that you definitely have to learn. How you interact with them, how to work with them, what are the language they use, this is something you have to learn. So, yeah.
I understand, but the problem is scoping a project like that, and scoping and pricing and putting time and contracts for a project like that would be extremely difficult.
Yeah, but think about this. You do a software project for water management. Yeah, you have to work with some type of water management experts too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I don't think that's that different from it. If you know how to manage domain know-hows in a software approach, and it's a slightly different problem where you have to, on the data side, you have to work with domain experts. And on the data, when you do data information type of project with domain experts, that has a bit of uncertainties, which you have to manage. You have to. And you can stay in the software side, which at this moment in time, there are a lot of competitors in that areas already.
No, I mean, but would the government accept the change of scope, additional charge? I mean, this is the government at the end of the day.
I know.
You are bound by a contract.
Yes. So if you are really concerned about it, then you know all this question. If you're really concerned about all this, then I will take, you may want to stay in the software approach of projects that they come out.
I'm asking you, I mean, how did you do it in that case?
The way I do it is, we do, on the data side, we split it. We don't take giant steps. We don't commit. For example, we're not commit to people, we can forecast 80% accuracy of things right out, especially on the forecasting side. But once you get a set of data that you are comfortable with, you know the parameters, and then you start to develop some ideas of how your approach can do, and then you have a better sense of how much you can commit. So we have a separate project, for example. We realized that we can forecast a retail store's revenue with 80% of accuracy on a weekly basis. We cannot have complete accurate forecast on a monthly basis, but week by week we know. Things like that. You get to understand. You have to understand how your capability around data is, and it's now becomes a measure of probabilities instead of, on the software side, it's a measure of specifications.
Oh, okay. For this case only, you set up all the sensors and you're receiving a lot of data. Well, that's the first part. Fine. You set it up, you're receiving a lot of data, you are doing DIs and all that. How about the AI that's working behind it? Is it learning fast enough to provide you with all the forecasting?
In this case, yes. In this case, to do a 5-year data training per site, it takes about 2 hours. So we run the 80 stations. It takes about maybe, altogether we can run through the whole 80 stations in approximately 1 day. It's less than 2 hours. So yeah, nowadays the hardware capability, the software algorithms can do quite some intensive computations. So basically on the London model, it's a 5-year weather station and 5 years air quality data. So we can do it in about 1 day. We'll run through 80 stations. Yeah.
Oh, let's say the AI picks up something that has never picked up before. And would they be able to provide you with new information, new data when they learn?
This is a very generic question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The way I see it is the following, that when you start from prescriptive informations, descriptive, and then a bit. When you go into a bit of a predictive informations, once you do that, it creates a cycle of simulations. So once you can do a bit of a prediction, through the prediction capability, you start to do a bit of simulations. And that creates a completely different set of software tools. So in our case, once we know the propagation model of a city on the air pollutants, now we can do a bit of simulations on different wind factors and if something happens and what may that be. And this is a 24-hour model, so we can do only 24 hours, yeah? So this is what it looks like. At least what we discover is something that you do a little bit of prescriptive. The next thing you actually get is simulations. And once that model or that link start to put together, you can see a very quick cycle of it. You know, if you see AI recently, there's something called enforced learning. Once you do simulations, you can do learning in a very quick way. Very, very quick way.
How many years has this project been going on?
This is actually going on for about half a year. We finished it. We finished the first round about half years ago. So we are now cleaning up the data. We are actually doing a forecast for London. We are doing a forecast for Taiwan.
So what is the beacon technology? You mentioned many beacons. Is it 5 beacons or what?
No, the beacon is actually, the beacon we deploy in Thailand is a very, it's in 2015, so it's a small one. It's a one-way with battery powered. It can run on the battery for approximately 3 years. And it's a very simple beacon. It's not even two ways because number one, we cannot assume network connectivity for the beacons. So it's one-way beacons, but with the management platforms in the back, so that when the handset receives the beacons, it sends the beacon ID back. We know where the beacon is installed, so we now start to know everything else. Yeah.
Sorry, which solution beacon you were asking about?
The beacon solution in the tourism part.
Tourism part, right?
Yeah.
Picking up the saturation part of the places.
Yeah, the why it picks up the saturation part of places is that, okay, it's a one-way beacon, very simple, because it's 2015. So this one-way beacon is not two-way, battery powered, because we installed it on a lot of places where we do not have exact power. We don't want to go through the trouble of getting powers and stuff like that. So very simple one. And then once the app picks up the beacon, right? We know the beacon where it's installed.
So the guys who installed the application and who's online, you can only pick up those when it meets that.
Yeah, so you go to, like the beacon is here, right? If this bottle has the beacon, then it gets close, and then my phone picks up the beacon, and then it sends the beacon ID back to the back office. The back office knows right away, and the beacon is there.
The accuracy of the data that you're collecting.
The data there's not much data because beacon by itself is just transmitting, right?
I'm just saying, okay, there are, let's say, 20 people right here.
Yeah.
And if you do not.
No, it's 20 people, then 20 handsets gets the message, it sends back to the servers, then we know 20 people are here.
And how can you tell which is which? Let's say I'm from other country and you're from native.
Oh no, we are not going that far yet. Okay, we do it in such a way that we want the beacon. Originally, the idea was the beacon will do an introduction of the local business. So I see the beacon, I know he's running a very good noodle shop. So it sends a push to my phone, say, oh, he's running Mr. Mohammed is running a very wonderful noodle shop, you should visit. That was the idea.
So it's just collecting area.
It's not collecting, it's actually transmitting. It's not even collection, it's locating. It's locating where you are.
When you talk about that, you understand where tourists are located. So you have some kind of technology or case so to understand that, for example, I am a worker, so I'm working for this area of market. So you are not relegating everything, but you are not we as a carrier, we can.
number one. So I come from a carrier background, so I'm working in a carrier company, so we can. But however, you have to think what is the purpose of the application. Yeah, the original application purpose was to promote local business. So we want them to be able to know that what are the famous or interesting local businesses in a vicinity of specific locations. And that was how it started. So it was not something that, it was the starting point of it. And then the funny thing is, today, if you look at the users, 60% are locals, 40% are somebody. You know, tourist application is a very difficult thing to operate. When we start running it, then we understand. Number one, do you go to any place? Do you go to Taiwan and install an application in Taiwan? Probably not.
So yeah. Once you don't see all those data, how can you make a decision as a tour company or tour operator or as of government? Let's say if you don't know where the tourists are going, how can you say, okay, I need to create a place here so that I can attract them to this place? Or rather, if I build up here, then we make revenue out of it.
Well, the original intent was not that far away. The original intent was promote, as I said, have focus, right? Local business. So I want to know how many local businesses are here. As a government, we want to put places that we know how to introduce you, the local business. And once we start, but that's the side effect of it. Once we're collecting this, we start to see the concentration of people, right? And then they can do something after that. But not yet. That was not the beginning of it. The beginning was to introduce local business to the user of the app. And now it becomes a interesting ecosystem. The local business providing promotions. And the funny thing is, the local people are using the promotion too. Why only just the tourists, right? So we actually have 60% of the users are locals. It was something out of our expectation anyway. So, yeah. Yeah, no, local people. I'm local. I mean.
Because I checked
it's original for Thai. Yeah, it's for local tourists. Yes. Yeah. No, it's no English. Yes. No, we did not. As I said, we know people coming from outside Taiwan. For example, I don't go out and install any other countries app because I don't know about them. So and this also has a payment mechanism linked in. So we know for sure to start with we focus on local tourists to start with. You know, there's a targeting concept on. Yeah. All right, sorry about this. I think it's way too over. Thank you very much, and I hope that we will have.